This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Hi, I'm Robert Floyd, Southampton Town Moderator, and we have a special town meeting coming up on Saturday, March 22nd, indoors, 10 o'clock in the morning. We haven't met indoors since 2007, so looking forward to it. Tonight, I plan to read all the articles against which the motions will be delivered to vote, and we'll have no discussion and no debate tonight. Article 1, Public Safety Building Planning Bonds, Debt Exclusion. To see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money for engineering architectural services to build a public safety building and all costs incidental and related thereto, including an owner's project manager, to determine whether this appropriation shall be raised by borrowing or otherwise, or to take any other action relative thereto. Article 2, Prudent Investor Rule. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, so Chapter 54B, to allow town trust funds to be invested in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 203C, the so-called Prudent Investment Rule, or take any other action relative thereto. Article 3, OPEB Declaration of Trust. To see if the town will vote to adopt, re-adopt, and accept the provision of Section 20 of Chapter 32B of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended by Section 15 of Chapter 218 of the Acts of 2016, establishing an other post-employment benefits liability trust fund, to authorize the Select Board and Treasurer to execute a declaration of trust, creating an expendable trust for the purpose of holding monies appropriated to such fund, to designate the Treasurer as the trustee of such trust, to authorize the transfer of any and all monies currently held for the purpose of paying retiree health and life benefits to such trust, and to authorize the trustee to invest and reinvest the monies in such fund in accordance with the prudent investor rule established under Chapter 23C of the Massachusetts General Laws, or take any other action relative thereto. Article 4, Amendment to General Bylaws, Annual Town Meeting and Election Dates. To see if the town will vote to change the town's bylaws, Chapter 93, Section 1, by amending the existing language as noted below, deleting existing language with a strike-through, and adding new language shown in boldface text, which reads as follows. The annual meeting of the town shall be held on the first strike-through Tuesday, bold Saturday in May, commencing at strike-through 7 o'clock p.m., bold 10 o'clock a.m., and the strike-through evening, bold morning, and if not completed in a reasonable time prescribed by the moderator, shall continue on successive evenings beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. until its conclusion, excluding Sundays and holidays. The annual election of town officers shall be held on the third Tuesday in May of each year, or take any other action relative thereto. Article 5, Amendment to General Bylaws, Swimming Pool Safety. To see if the town will vote to change the town bylaw entitled Swimming Pools, Chapter 234, by amending the existing language as noted below, deleting existing language with a strike-through, and replacing it with new language shown in boldface text, which reads as follows. Chapter 234, Swimming Pools, strike-through. History adopted by the town meeting of the town of Southampton as Article 10 of the General Bylaws. Amendments noted were applicable. Subchapter 234, 1, swimming pools defined A swimming pool within the meaning of this bylaw shall be in any permanent depression in the ground or a permanent container of water, either above or below the ground, in which water of more than 12 inches in depth is contained and which is primary for the purpose of bathing and swimming. Continued with the strike-throughs. Subchapter 234-2, barrier required. All outdoor pools to be constructed or which are already constructed shall be enclosed by a barrier not less than 4 feet in height, which shall be constructed in such a manner and of a type not readily climbed by children. All gates and doors opening through such enclosures shall be of the self-latching hook type and shall be kept locked when the pool is not in actual use or left unattended. Subchapter 234-3, setback from lot lines. A pool shall not be nearer than 10 feet to any lot line. Subchapter 234-4, violations and penalties. Amended Chapter 9.2023 ATM by Article 31. A person who violates this bylaw shall be liable to a penalty as provided in Chapter 203, non-criminal disposition. End of strike-throughs, which are hard to read. Chapter 234, swimming pools. Definitions. Definitions for the purpose of this bylaw. Swimming pools at all. Any body of water more than 24 or more inches in depth above or below ground in an artificial or semi-artificial receptacle or container, permanent or temporary, whether located indoors or outdoors, used or intended to be used for swimming by adults and or children, and includes all structures, equipment, appliances, and all other facilities to the intended for the operation and maintenance of a swimming pool. 780 SAMR, Chapter R105.2. Restrictions. All swimming pools, when installed in the rear yard, shall be placed no less than 15 feet from the rear and or side lot line. 2. No swimming pool shall be placed less than 40 feet from the front lot line. 3. Pools in ground or above ground will be enclosed in a barrier at least 4 feet in height. Above ground pools may include the height of the pool and may require an addition on the pool to attain the required height. In addition to any other protective measures, a fence is still required by Southampton. Chain link fencing mesh size shall not exceed 2 1/4 inches. Pools located on fenced property also require an adequate barrier immediately surrounding the pool. 5. Pool fencing must have a self-latching gate and swing outward. All gates and doors openings through such enclosures shall be kept locked when the pool is not in actual use or left unattended. 6. In compliance with Mass Building Code 780 CMR, above-ground pools must be removed when the pool is not in use, if not secured by fencing. 7. Permits for swimming pools can be obtained from the building department. Exemptions. Small plastic or inflatable children's pools are exempt, as are hot tubs with approved safety covers. Enforcement. The building commissioner inspector is the enforcing authority and will issue notices of violation to property owners for failure to comply with this bylaw. Penalties, fines will be levied per bylaw Chapter 203, non-criminal disposition, or take any other action relative thereto. Article 6, Amendment to General Bylaws, naming of public buildings, structures, and lands. This eve, the town will vote to change the town bylaw entitled The Naming of Public Buildings, Structures, and Lands, Chapter 66, Article 3, Section 66-5 and 66-6 by amending the existing language as noted below, deleting existing language with a strike-through, and replacing it with new language shown in boldface text, which reads as follows. Chapter 66-3, Purpose. This bylaw is enacted to establish the process by which, in naming, renaming, or otherwise designating public buildings, structures, bridges, and public lands, the town seeks to recognize individuals, locations, and or events of significance in local history and local affairs. Subchapter 66-4, definitions. Designate, the act of calling by a distinctive title, term, or expression any public building, structure, or public lands as defined by this bylaw. Features: benches, bricks, flagpoles, plaques, parking spaces, trees, scoreboards, and signs or other markers located on public lands or within public buildings or structures. Name, a word or phrase that constitutes the distinctive designation of any public building, structure, bridges, or public lands as defined in this bylaw. Nominee, the individual or entity whose name is proposed. Public building, structure, any structure, edifice, bridge, or other facility owned or maintained by the town of Southampton or any department or agency thereof. Public lands, any real property owned or maintained by the town of Southampton or any department or agency thereof, including, but not limited to, playgrounds, parks, courts, athletic fields, intersections, and medians, and private ways on public lands, but not including public ways regulated by Chapter 82-9 of the general bylaws. Rename, the act of redesignating any public buildings, structures, bridges, or public lands as defined in this bylaw. Chapter 66-5, procedure. The naming, renaming, or other designation of any public building, structure, bridge, or public lands shall be by majority vote, strike through, at an annual or special town meeting, bold, of the select board. Once public buildings, structures, bridges, or public lands have been named, they shall not be renamed unless changes are recommended by the select board and approved by town meeting. 66-6, criteria. Any proposed name or designation of any public building, structure, bridge, or public lands shall be submitted to the select board in writing, bold, accompanied by a recommendation from any department or agency having jurisdiction, end of bold, for its review and recommendation as to the appropriateness thereof, bold, and a letter of support from the Southampton Historical Commission where applicable. If named after a person, the select board shall take into account the nominee's past residence in Southampton, extraordinary service, and or contributions to the town. Public lands may be named according to natural descriptors of the land or after a specific individual as part of a bequest or some kind of special circumstances. End of bold. Beginning of strike through. A. Applicable criteria for naming, renaming consideration shall include, but is not limited to: 1. Nominee's past residence in Southampton. 2. Nominee's extraordinary service to the town. 3. Nominee's significant contribution to the town. 4. The designated item to be named relates to the individual's service or contribution to the town. 5. No public building, structure, bridge, or public lands shall be named for any living person or commercial enterprise. Six, letter of support from the Southampton Historical Commission where applicable. End of strike through. B, the select board may consider additional standards and criteria for consideration of proposed names or designations. Beginning of strike through. Following, bold, following. A, beginning of strike through. Duly advertised, bold, scheduled, public. Beginning of strike through. Hearing, bold, meeting. Strike through begins. The select board shall forward its recommendations to special or annual town meeting for approval. C, beginning of strike through. the naming, renaming, or other designation of individual rooms, areas or sub-areas within a public building or structure, or areas or sub-areas associated with any public lands shall be by the department or agency having jurisdiction over the same. The Select Board shall be notified in writing in advance of the intent to name, rename, or designated any sub-area within public buildings, structures, and public lands. The Select Board shall be notified within 7 days of the installation and naming or renaming permitted under this section. The requirements of subsection B shall not apply to the naming, renaming, or other designation authorized by this subsection C, provided that the naming, renaming, or other designation is consistent with the following criteria. Continue with strike-through. 1. Such rooms, areas, or sub-areas constitute less than 25% of the public building, structure, or public lands at or in which the same may be located. 2. No such room, area, or sub-area shall be named for any living person. 3. No such room, area, or sub-area shall bear the name of a commercial enterprise. And 4. A duly advertised public hearing is held at which such naming, renaming, or designation is considered and acted upon by said department or agency. Any person objecting to such naming, renaming, or designation by the department or agency may, within 10 days thereafter, appeal the action in writing to the Select Board, which shall, after duly advertised public hearing, approve or reject the action. End of strike-through. D. The installation and naming, renaming, or other designation of features shall be by the department or agency having jurisdiction over the same. The Select Board may, after a beginning of strike-through, duly advertise in a strike-through, bold schedule, public beginning of strike-through, hearing in the strike-through, bold meeting in the bold, establish standards and specifications for signs, plaques, markers, or other features to be erected on public property within the town, or take any other action relative thereto. Article 7, transfer of funds for legal costs. To see if the town will vote to transfer an amount totaling $5,000 from the group health insurance account to town accounts as listed below. Amount $5,000 from group health insurance to legal expenses. Reason, additional legal expenses. Or take any other action relative thereto. Article 8, unpaid accounts from prior fiscal years. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or otherwise provide a sum of money for the payment of unpaid bills of previous years incurred by the departments, boards, and offices of the town of Southampton, or take any other action relative thereto. There'll be 4 categories: account, title, vendor, and amount. Account number 01-163-5700-00000. Election registration expenses, Paradise copies, $97.06. 01-196-5701-00000. Technology services, Northeast IT, $202.60. 01-422-5701-00000. Machinery maintenance, Skyline Services, $112. 01-422-5702-00000. MS4 Stormwater Management, tie and bond, $1,748.75. 25-200-5008-00000. Dog control, LL Data Designs, $495. 220-5700-00000. Fiscal 22 Fire Safe Grant, Department of Fire Services, $7,430. 25-200-5024-00000, Weights and Measures, COMA, Division of Standards, $4,462. 01-300-5700, Elementary School, Pearson, $141.40. Same account as before. Elementary School, Vendor G's, JES, $1,122. Same account as before. Elementary School, Supreme Systems, $3,217.24. Same account as before. Elementary School, CH Neurology Foundation, $1,128.97. Same account as before. Elementary School, same vendor, $300 as before, $397.94. Same account as before. Elementary School, same vendor, $374.70. Same account as before. Elementary School, CH Neurology Foundation, $128.18. 22-300-5700-0000, Elementary School, HPC Food Service Distributor, $394.44. And the last one, Article 9, CPA funding for historical preservation of First Congregational Church of Southampton. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $15,000 from Community Preservation Act funds to the First Congregational Church of Southampton for installation of 3 heat pumps in the portion of the church used by the public for community activities to preserve this historic building. Said funds to be transferred from Community Preservation Surcharges Historic Preservation account or take any other action relative thereto. And those 9 will be presented to you by motions at our special town meeting Saturday, March 22nd, 10 o'clock. Please come early to register. Looking forward to see you then. Thank you.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.